Hey all, here are OS Reviews. Today we're taking a quick look at a pretty fun and retro-designed mechanical keyboard from MelGeek. This is called the Modern 97. It features 97 keys and can also be used in various modes, including wireless via Bluetooth, as well as 2.4G wireless using a nano receiver. Plus, you can also use it in the more traditional wired mode, plugging it directly into your computer, compatible universally with any machine, whether it's going to be Windows, Mac OS, Linux, or even Android devices. MelGeek has made quite a few really fun mechanical keyboards in the past, including ones inspired by Lego, where you can even snap on physical Lego blocks on the side to customize the keyboard. In comparison, the Modern 97 is a little bit more conventional. However, it still looks quite fresh and unique with some of the speckled designs going on within the polycarbonate shell, coming in colors including Slate, which is more of a gray/black, as well as this Napa color that we have in front of us, which honestly kind of reminds me of some of the IBM and Apple mechanical keyboards back in the day from the 80s and 90s. So it has a really cool vintage touch going on. We'll take a closer look at that. So it kind of contradicts with that modern name in a fun way. Underneath here, we have just a quick user guide telling you how to quickly set it up, plugging it into the computer. We also have underneath here a keycap holder, as well as a switch holder if you want to swap out the included key switches and replace the keycaps as well for either washing or further customizing. In the speckled little box, you also find some additional replacement accent keys. For example, by default, they have the MelGeek logo on the escape key, but if you want to replace it with a more conventional one, you can swap that out instead. And the USB Type-C cable is also wrapped in silicone, having these orange accents going on and showing a lot of attention to detail. There's even a fun slogan of good typing and chicken dinner. There's also the aforementioned nano receiver if you're trying to use it in the 2.4G wireless mode and your computer doesn't have Bluetooth, for example. So you can plug that in. And this is a very interesting nano receiver because it's entirely made out of polycarbonate plastic and almost looks like a piece of Lego. So it might be something perhaps reused from their previous Lego keyboard, although this one doesn't have another slot to pop it onto. Closer look here at the design. We have a slightly tapered appearance on the side, so there's a natural incline, making it just a little bit more ergonomic as you're typing, even without more elevated feet, having some grooves on the side as well. And when we flip it over, we have a very customized rear with a kind of translucent texture that you can look inside. Some of the logos that we saw echoed on the packaging definitely sets it apart from other generic mechanical keyboards and budget models that we've seen in the past, having just a lot more attention to detail going on here with the craftsmanship. The top here also features the port for charging as well as the Type-C wired mode, and you can also flick on the side here to enter the Bluetooth connectivity, the wired, as well as the 2.4G modes, just by using the switch here. Overall, still is quite attractive looking in this vintage retro theme. Otherwise, layout of the keyboard does include a numpad positioned here on the side, as well as full arrow keys down below, and everything else does feel quite consistent in terms of stabilization and sound, and quite premium for a pre-built mechanical keyboard. Now, located onto the right of the escape key is also LED indication lights that will blink to tell you the connectivity status, as well as if you are first turning it on, you can gauge the battery percentage remaining. For example, green means that the battery is almost full, compared to red might be under 25%, orange and yellow represent if it's in the middle. I like that the numpad even includes some symbols here for multiplication, minus, and plus, so if you're doing calculations, it can come in handy. And pulling out the escape key here, we can also see the key switches underneath, as well as the LED RGB lights. And it looks like this is actually a green switch version included in this particular model. Quite interesting. It's very similar, though, to a brown switch in the sense that it's quite quiet, doesn't produce too much sound as you're using it even in more public space, so not quite as clacky or loud as blue switches. They've been pre-lubed to offer a really smooth response as you're tapping down, kind of a mix between something feeling extremely tactile, but also linear for things like document and office work. Plus, it is hot-swappable, so you can, of course, pull it out if you don't like this one that is pre-included. Now, under the Bluetooth mode, by the way, it can pair up to 8 devices wirelessly just by tapping on function and the corresponding number there. So if you have a phone, a tablet, and various computers, you can use the function keys to command different devices. A deconstruction chart can also be viewed here for all the layers comprising of the keyboard, and again, looking quite clean regardless of what color that you choose. Now, MelGeek does also have a companion software for Windows and Mac that you can use to further customize the RGB lights, including setting up different macros. And now moving to a quick demo of what it sounds like as you're typing. is actually quite addictive, but still having a pretty good travel and feedback to it. And like most mechanical keyboards, the argument here is that these switches should last longer compared to regular membrane keyboards, while being more satisfying to type on and also allowing you to exert a little bit less pressure as well, since the switches should technically be doing a little bit of that work for you. You can press a little bit more light and it will go all the way down and then bounce back. Over time, you can apply less force and type at a slightly faster speed with more accuracy as well. And now once paired to a device via Bluetooth, you can see the battery percentage remaining on the phone or your computer. And in the Bluetooth mode, after a couple of seconds of inactivity, the backlight will also turn off to consume less power. But overall, it still works quite well in terms of illuminating it in slightly darker environments. Case in point, this is what the keyboard looks like with all the lights here dimmed around us. That being said, the actual keycaps don't actually shine through in terms of the letters, which is one aspect of the plastic that they're using here for the keycaps that perhaps could be improved on. MelGeek claims that it's because this material will be more wear resistant and sturdier to things like grease and oils on your fingers, but again, it might make it a little harder if you don't have muscle memory as you're typing individual keys. So if you're looking for it to shine through, that might have to be something that you pick up yourself as a optional keycap set during your own customization journey. The responsiveness, even in the Bluetooth 5.0 mode, seems to be actually very good. In fact, there is minimal lag here even as we are typing further away from the device. That being said, again, for even less latency, the wired mode is still going to be your best bet if you're doing things like intense AAA competitive gaming on a Windows computer or Mac. Now, as for special commands, you can also tap on the function F5 and F6 to increase and decrease the backlight of the keyboard. The function 1 through 4 commands are mainly used to control your computer's screen brightness instead, and also volume controls from F9 to F12, again, on your device. That being said, you can also tap on the ZX, CV, B, and N keys to further go through a loop of different preset LED effects. So illustrating that, let's actually crank up the maximum brightness of the backlight here versus the minimum. You can see it gradually get dimmer and dimmer versus being completely off. Alternatively, tapping on the Z key can also instantly turn it on and off, remembering the previous brightness level that you set it at. Then tapping on X here will loop through different modes. So this one here is actually going to slowly strobe through colors of the rainbow, including blues and greens, very gently in this gradient effect. Now it's in this purple shade, looking quite good. We can tap on it again to go into more of a sharp, breathing mode. Once more here into kind of a rippling pattern, looking quite cool as an animated mode, and then once more here into a reactive mode where it will just ripple outwards depending on where we're typing on the keyboard, including the numpad here on the side, still working quite well. And then once more into another reactive mode where the keys will light up for a split second before fading away after another second or so. Once more into another more kind of rainbow or candy-like effect that will be just dancing a little bit more randomly across the entire keyboard. And we can tap again into the brightest kind of white color mode that we started off from before again looping back into those other settings. Now I can also tap on the C key to change the color while I'm in a specific mode. So in this rainbow mode here, I can set it to a specific color that I'm interested in. And similarly, in all the other modes, including breathing, I can also change the color one at a time as well, including all the ripple pattern modes as well. I can also change the color if I'm not satisfied to a single shade. So for every single one, including the reactive modes, you can still change the color based on your preferences just by tapping on the function C key. Definitely looks the coolest in a darker environment, but as we've talked about in previous videos in some of these reactive modes, it might be a little bit better as a conversation piece rather than being super practical, since then you can't really even tell where the keyboard is located. So the always on mode is probably the best if you're just using it in the day-to-day. Now, one mode that is missing from a lighting perspective on this keyboard, though, would be a reactive mode to music. So there is no built-in microphone on this particular model. So the plus side is it might be a little bit better for security. However, it is one effect that you won't have on the Modern 97. So that is more or less it as far as our quick hands-on review of the MelGeek Modern 97. This is a keyboard that definitely has quite a few advantages, primarily with the design here just looking super classy in a very nostalgic, retro way. But of course, it's modernized in areas like I/O, the RGB lights, as well as all the small detail work that you can find located on the back and the sides of the unit. The typing experience is handled very well, thanks to the stabilization via the built-in gasket. Since everything is so well done out of the box, it's basically just plug and play and you're ready to go. So that ease of use is excellent if you like the overall aesthetic. The performance here is quite good. And the last time that we checked out a product from these folks was the Mojo 84 from about a year or so back. This one having more of a modern aesthetic going on with a more steampunk, transparent vibe. So spanning a pretty wide range there aesthetically based on what you prefer. Something that looks a little bit more futuristic versus more of that antique retro theme. So that has been the MelGeek Modern 97, yet another pretty distinctive looking pre-built keyboard from the folks here. And you can check out more details if you're interested. Links down below, but for now that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews.